Hello! I'm Natalie and welcome to my first YouTube video. I'm going to be doing a little knitting style podcast format of video for today, but I'm going to be throwing in some knitting and some pottery things, which will be pretty exciting. Kind of cross over those two worlds. Just a little bit about me before I get started. I am based in Seattle, so it's a dreary, drizzly, rainy day right now. So hopefully the lighting is okay. Some background on my knitting journey, which I'm sure I'll get to talk about more in the future, but just for some context, I started knitting like a little bit at the end of 2022, but really didn't get into it until the end of last year. So I'm a fairly new knitter, although I'm not new to like crafting and like that kind of world, and I've dabbled in a bunch of different projects, which I'm hoping to share. But yeah, so a few months into it now, and really cranking stuff out. It's all I want to be doing. It's all the content that I want to be consuming on the internet. So I thought it would just be a good opportunity to share with you all, maybe form a little bit of a community, and just like talking knitting, and crafting and pottery and all of that. So I'm really excited. Let's just get into it. I'm gonna do the like classic knitting podcast format of like finished objects, whips, acquisitions, but I'm also gonna be throwing in some pottery too, which I think will be fun. Let's get into it. My first finished object is this Zakkuri cardigan, and this is by Noriko Ichikawa, I believe. And I saw this pattern on a creator. I'll show a picture here. I loved her version of it, and I was just like immediately bought yarn to get it. I knit my Zakkuri cardigan in polka dot sheep yarn in their Snow Ghost Sport in the color Nightcap. I actually got this yarn when I went to Montana with family, and they have a store there, and all I wanted to do when I was there was like, I just want to go to a yarn store. I had no idea anything about polka dot sheep yarn, and we just went in, and it was a really great experience, and I was really drawn to this kind of gray, tan, and cream colorway. So this yarn is a sport weight yarn, and the Zakkuri cardigan calls for maybe worsted. So I actually held two sport weight yarns together, which I really like how it turned out, because it's not just like one gradient of the yarn's colorway going throughout it. It's a blend of two gradients, so it kind of feels a little bit more like, I'll get a little bit closer so you can kind of see the colors. This is a beautiful cardigan. It has some like rolled hems, which I've been really into recently, as I'm sure a lot of people are. And this yarn is 65% alpaca and 35% merino, so it is quite warm. I'm like a pretty sweaty person, so I don't actually wear this a lot, and I'm hoping maybe next winter I'll be able to, since I finished it in January. But I love the like fluff it's given off. That's this one. I didn't block it, so this is just how it is right off the bat. And I'm scared of blocking, so if you guys all have some tips for me, that'd be great. I've had some bad experiences blocking a few of my first projects, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I really see the point, because this like looks great to me. I'm also not a perfectionist when it comes to my crafting, which maybe you'll see throughout the content, which makes it feel a little bit more approachable. So some modifications I made to this one. I actually, in the pattern, it has you knit the button band as you work the body, and I like read the instructions wrong and just like didn't do that part. So I ended up doing a double knit button band, all the way down it. And it was my first time doing a double knit button band, and I kind of just like got really obsessed with double knitting. It was so satisfying to me. And then the buttons that I use are just these white plastic buttons that I got from a place called Seattle Recreative, and they do like a whole bunch of secondhand crafting supplies. So they have like fabrics and yarn and a ton of buttons. Originally I was going to do like mismatch buttons throughout, and I ended up finding a secondhand set of these white ones that I thought just brought a little bit more like lightness to this cardigan. The other modification that I made, just looking at it, remembering it now, is I did 2 buttonholes up on the collar section, and I think I knit this a little bit taller than it said to, just so I want it to sit like kind of high up. But yeah, that's this one. I'm gonna take a sip from another finished object. This is a mug that I made. Where's the camera? It's a like speckledy clay that I did a black glaze, and I painted some like flowers in a like washed out underglaze, just so it kind of gave a little bit of a watercolor effect. I got this idea from an artist. I'm blanking on her name right now, but I'm obsessed with her stuff, so I'll share some like of her stuff over here. But I have a little evening iced matcha right now. That's that. Alright, moving on. I'm calling this a finished object, but it's not quite finished. And that's okay. But these are the Lotta shorts. I can't pronounce the username of the designer, but I think her name is Lily. And they're actually the Lotta pants pattern, but I knitted up quite shorter than a pant just for my own sanity, and because I thought little stripy shorts would be fun. And I love the color that I picked out here. This like P as in PEA green color is one of my favorite colors. And yeah, I still have some things to do. I have to put an elastic band in here, and I did the bind off on one of the folded hems wrong, that I have to go back and redo it. But it's not like super noticeable. I just can feel the seam underneath. And yeah, I knit these in Camarose Okologisk Sommeruld. It's a 70% merino and a 30% cotton yarn, and I use the color Citron and whatever their like natural color was. And they are not as like, I wish I used more of a 100% cotton on these, just because they are a little bit warm, which might be okay. I'm imagining like wearing these at the beach with a bathing suit or something, you know, like if it's a little bit cold out. But yeah, I'm really happy with how these turned out. They worked up super quickly. Stripes are like super addicting, which you'll see from my Olga sweater. That's a whip when I get to it. But yeah, still have some things to do for this one, but really happy with it. My next finished object is these socks. These are the Slow Morning DK socks by Camille Hang. They're free pattern, and it's just a 2x2 rib. I'm not super familiar with like sock like heel constructions, but it's like a short, maybe it's a short row heel. And for these I used Berroco vintage sock yarn in like this gray color, and I marled it together with the Cascade Heritage sock yarn in white. So it created this like beautiful marling of those two colors. And my boyfriend and I have been really obsessed with the like LL Bean wool socks, and these totally remind me of those, and he wants a pair, so I'll be knitting some for him as well. But really happy with how these turned out. Again, I have not blocked these, and we'll see if I do, because they're pretty solid as is. The only thing that I will say, I've knit a few pairs of socks now, and I can't quite get the, like, where it crosses here is always a little bit loose on me. So I might try to like play around with like decreasing my stitches there and then increasing them back for the foot, or even just like decreasing them there and keeping them decreased throughout the foot. But yeah, it was really fun to knit on these. I've previously tried making some just like fingering weight yarn, and always have a problem with it. I'm a loose knitter, and so I typically have to size down a few needle sizes for every project. And so if I'm knitting like a fingering weight sock yarn that's already on small needles, I have to go down to like a really, really tiny needle, which is not only like difficult on my hands, but also just like creates a looser gauge that I'm not a fan of. So discovering DK weight socks was like really exciting for me the past few months. But that's these ones. Another pair of socks that I made are these fun greeny yellow socks. For these, I referenced the same Slow Morning DK socks pattern, but I did a 1x1 rib, and I just wanted to like kind of play around with what that looked like. Overall, I think I definitely prefer the 2x2, like the way that it looks, but it was fun to try something different. I like how this pattern has the ribbing kind of continues down on the foot. These I knit with leftover of the Okologisk summer guild from this my Lotta shorts, mixed with what's it called? I'm looking at my notes down here. The Berroco vintage sock in like their yellow color. So I mixed two colors together. I don't know if you'll be able to see on camera, but there is a slight marling effect, and I am obsessed with that. Just from afar, it looks like a yellow sock, and then there's a little bit more detail up close, and it was a good way to like use up the rest of the yarn from my Lotta shorts into a sock. For these, I also did a rolled hem on the top, which I really love that like detail. Obviously I'm like obsessed with rolled hems right now, but I think it came out really cute. And then I did a shorter sock length than my other ones. The other things that I did differently for these is I started, you can totally see where I switched to purling because my pearls are so loose, but I did about, I think, 6 rows of just the heel side of stitching so that my heel height is a little bit longer, which I definitely will do in the future because I really like that aspect of it. Yeah, I was calling these my popcorn socks, just because the texture kind of gives off popcorn and the color. Yeah, these also have not been blocked. I've worn them. They were really warm for the warm day that I wore them on, but you know, it is what it is. There's some wool in here, so that's that. I have 2 more finished pottery objects that I'll talk through fairly quickly. The first of which is this mug. This is like a speckledy clay mug, which is a clear glaze, with a like cute little handle, and then I drew a little frog on it. There's a little bit of a smudge from where I like made a mistake on his eyes, but I thought it turned out still pretty cute. I love using underglaze and drawing. Mostly I feel like I lean towards drawing like flowers and things, which I'm planning on doing like every pottery thing that I've made as like an amateur potter. And I could talk through some of my favorite things there, but it was fun to do like a little creature guy. He's a little 3-legged frog. Turned out pretty cute. The other finished object for pottery is this little bowl that I drew some worms on. This again is like the same speckledy clay, and I used some underglaze to draw some worms on it. And I actually didn't do like a top glaze over them, so you can kind of feel the texture of the worms, which is pretty satisfying. And the colors I think came out really good because I mixed a red and a white underglaze to make this pink color, and I think it's such a fun like little pop of worm. So yeah, those are my finished pottery items. Take another sip from my matcha here. Alright, now let's move on to whips. I'm going to start with the boring one, which is a singular sock. This is a fingering weight sock. I can't remember the pattern, but it is a pattern in which there's like, I can't even remember what this is called, but you do like one row where there's a purl stitch mixed in and one where they're just regular stitch, I think. So it kind of creates like almost like an eyelet or kind of effect. These socks I was calling my egg yolk socks because I wanted them to be like a simple white sock, and then I was trying to use up the yellow from the Berroco vintage sock that I had. And this is the rest of the Cascade Heritage sock yarn in white. Looking at it now, I actually am a little bit happier with the fingering weight gauge on these than I thought I was. So maybe I will end up knitting the second sock for this, but I don't know. I'm just not like super thrilled with it. I think if anything, I wish, sorry, I'm like rotating it around everywhere. If anything, I wish I just did the heel in a white, so that it was more of a plain white sock with the toe as being like a little bit of a fun detail. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm not like super, it's kind of just like a whatever sock to me. The next whip is my cloud sweater. And started it in this beautiful like green brown color. I don't think the color is quite perfect showing on camera. It looks a little bit more caramely, but it definitely has a little bit of a green undertone to it. And I've knit the body and the neckline, so all I have left is the sleeves, but I ran out of yarn. So the yarn that I use for this is the cloud sweater by PetiteKnit. I'm sure you're familiar with it already, so I won't talk about it too much. But I originally had this yarn as one of my first ever knitting project yarn, and I frogged it like last weekend because I was like never gonna finish it. And then I did this so quickly because I love this yarn. It is the Blue Sky Fibers organic cotton, their worsted weight, and this color is bay leaf, and it is just like such a beautiful yarn. I'm in love with this yarn and the yarn that I'm using for my next project too. I'm a huge fan of cotton yarn. I think I've discovered that over the last few weeks. I've always like loved cotton, like buying cotton from like the thrift store, or, you know, clothing in general. I'm like I said earlier, I'm like a sweaty person, and so I don't feel like I can wear a lot of wool stuff even in the winters. I feel like I just like get too warm and then get sweaty, and then my sweat gets cold, and then I'm like cold even though I'm wearing wool. And so I think that's just a me problem, but I feel like I plan on making a lot more cotton stuff, and maybe mixing in a little bit of like wool here and there, or maybe doing some kind of marled blend of the two. but I definitely plan on using this yarn again. It's like been fantastic to work with. It is a little bit fuzzy too, which is nice for the cloud sweater, because I know that one is supposed to be with a mohair, which again I'm not like a huge like fan of, but I'm really happy for this. This one and my Olga sweater, which we'll talk about. I was debating not doing the arms until it starts getting cooler outside, just so I could wear it as like a cute like little vest instead. But I think I am gonna wear or put the sleeves on, just because I take my dog out, you know, early morning and late at night, and it's still pretty chilly, I think, even in the summer. So I might be able to just like throw this on and just be good to go. But yeah, I stopped working on it because I ran out of yarn, and I've since picked up one skein because that's all they had left at the yarn shop that I went to. So I'll have to order one more, which is a little bit scary because of the dye lot situation. But again, I'm not like a perfectionist. If it's a different dye lot, it's a different dye lot, and I'm gonna be using one for one sleeve, and I'll get another one for this sleeve, and I think that'll be enough. And I think I still have a little bit left that I might be able to do like the cuffs of both of them if like for some reason the dye lot is like significantly different, but I don't really see an issue looking at them now. So that is this one. Really excited for it. And then the whip that I've been primarily focused on is my Olga sweater, which I know I've mentioned a few times already in this video. And it is beautiful. I've been calling it my Blues Clues sweater, because for some reason it totally reminds me of Blues Clues. I don't know why, for some reason, like obviously it's blue, and for some reason the stripes just feel Blues Clues-y to me. This, let me check my notes here. I'm using the Malabrigo Verano 100% Pima cotton yarn in phthalo blue for the royal blue color and rain for the light blue. And yeah, I'm like way more obsessed with this than I thought I would be, considering both of these yarns were yarns that I just like had in my stash for a while. The royal blue yarn or phthalo blue, I knit, what are they called? Not a bonnet, the ones with like the neck, whatever. You know what I'm talking about, with a mohair, and I wore that a few times, and actually wore it skiing when I went to Montana to get this yarn, and I am happy with that. I knit that a long time ago, and I just had like a ton of leftover of that. And then the rain, the blue, the light blue here, which almost looks gray, it's very subtle blue. I actually got to make a clematis sweater that I think I started like a long time ago, and then ultimately just like didn't really make very much progress, and I wasn't like as big of a knitter as I am now. So I just have a lot of yarn for that, and some blue yarn, and I had to order a few more balls of the phthalo blue color to finish this off, and the dye lots are different. I think you can see on camera, this is like a darker one in the body and a lighter in the sleeve, but again, I don't really care. You can't really tell. And yeah, I love it. This yarn I'm definitely going to be using again. It is so silky and nice and luxurious and cooling, which will be really nice for the summer. I have some future plans, and I think I'm probably going to use this yarn again, although I have to look at the colors. I believe this yarn, the Malabrigo yarn, is made in Peru, I think, and it's hand dyed, so there's a little bit of variegation within the skeins themselves, which I think just add a little bit of like fun and interest, even though it's not super noticeable when you're knitting it. You can be like, oh, that's a little bit of a darker patch, and like you can get back to it and be really excited, which was also like really satisfying with something like this. But yeah, I think the only modifications that I made to this is the end of the body, or the ribbing, I guess. In PetiteKnit's pattern, you're supposed to knit like half of it with the lighter color and half of it with the darker color, and I just decided for the cuffs as well to just do the darker color, so it was more of a ringer style top rather than like a striped rib cuff and hem. And I'm really happy that I did that because I like it so much better. The other thing with this pattern, if I were to knit it again, I know I didn't talk about sizing for any of these projects, but my gauge is usually like pretty off, so I don't like knit the same size all the time, just kind of depends. But the armhole, let's see if you can see it. It looks fine on, but I do wish this was a little bit deeper. So I think if I were to knit this again, I think you don't cast on extra stitches underneath the armhole for this pattern. If I were to knit it again, I think I would knit a few more stripes or like rows before like joining in the round for the sleeves, just so this is a little bit of a wider sleeve. Obviously like this sweater is like super duper deep, and I've had to make adjustments to sweaters in the past, like stop like a raglan earlier so that it's not as deep. And interesting that I have like the opposite for this construction. I don't know what this construction is called, I'd have to look it up, but I'm really happy with this. I knit my niece the like kid version of it, I can't remember what it's called, and it came out really cute, so I wanted to match with her. But yeah, that's that one. That's my like primarily focused on whip at the moment. Some pottery whips that I'll throw in really quickly are just some bowls that have yet to be glazed. I have 3. This one has a fun little foot on it, and it's small. I was primarily trying to make some new water bowls for my puppy, which I'm sure you'll see in future videos. He's at a sitter right now, so I could focus on filming, but then I have this one, which has like kind of a layered foot situation. That one, and then the last one is just like a tiny foot, and it's round and wide. I think this one will probably be like for me, because this is like my ideal meal is like a bowl meal, fits in this bowl. The other ones are a little bit smaller, so those are my things to be glazed. Alright, moving on to some acquisitions, which is exciting. Okay, so I already showed you I got the Blue Sky Fibers Organic Cotton worsted in the color Bay Leaf for my cloud sweater. So that's one of the things I got. Still need to order another skein, but there's that one. And then I got 4 balls of this Lanes du Nord soft lino, which is 80% linen and 20% Pima cotton. It's in this color, it's just called 3, and it's just this brown, kind of a more of a gray-y brown color. I got 4 skeins of this to knit one of the Camisole number whatever from My Favorite Things Knitwear. Can't remember the number. And I made it to the point in that project where I was joining the round and just decided that I didn't quite like this color for me, I feel like I would prefer like a darker brown. I originally went to the yarn store to get the what's it called? Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino, which they didn't have in stock yet, and I just really wanted to cast on a new project, so I got this as a backup, which they told me it has been discontinued. So I have 4 balls of this left to play with, and I think it's because there's a linen element to it. I was worried that it wasn't gonna fit properly. I'm kind of a bigger busted quirly out here, and I was just getting a little bit worried about the fitting of that, and if I would actually wear it. Just knitting a fingering weight yarn again, which I have issues with personally. So I frogged that and rolled them up into balls. These are the like untouched ones that I'm showing you. And I'm thinking about knitting, I saw a pattern for a bandana, and I think I bought it. That's like a little, I think like an eyelet bandana, I'll put it here, that you like tie around, and I think that would be really pretty for the summer, although I don't think that I'll use all of these skeins, so TBD on what I end up doing with that. Maybe I'll make some scrunchies or have this as an accent for something, or I don't know, maybe I'll hold it with like a sock yarn and just like knit some Sommeruld socks and play around with that. But it is a nice color, I do like it. It's just I shouldn't have bought a backup yarn when I wanted a different yarn, so learned my lesson there. It's super duper soft, and I will use it for something, so that's that. And then, because I've been in my sock phase, I got 2 balls of this Rowan felted tweed. It is 50% wool, 25% alpaca, and 25% viscose. I don't know if it says the color on here, but it's like a warm brown, almost burgundy color with like little flecks of blue and orange and cream, and it's fluffy and nice. And my boyfriend wears wool socks all year round, which is absurd to me. And so I was like, I'll knit some in a color that he doesn't have, that he'll wear a lot, I think. And he likes the yarn so far, so yeah, we'll see how these come out. They're not necessarily sock yarn, but the lady at the yarn store told me that it should be okay. She actually found this because I was looking for a really specific color, so thanks to her. There's that. And then I got 4 skeins of the Queensland Coastal Cotton, which is 100% cotton, and I got the color Chili. And it is picking up so well and perfectly on camera because it is this like bright red orange chili color. And I'm gonna knit the Sabai top out of this, which I'm really excited for myself. I'm not like a huge color wearer, maybe? I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily call myself that, but I thought this color in like a cute little tank top would be pretty fun for the summer, especially with like denim shorts or something, or like track pants, which would be a fun contrast. I like knit sporty contrast. Yeah, I love this color, and I did knit a swatch. Can't remember what needle I used. I'll be better about taking notes in the future, but here's my swatch, and I think it came out so nicely. I'm like really obsessed with this color. I think it'll be super fun for the summer to have a pop of color top. And I believe that's all I have for you. I'm just like keep glancing at the amount of time that I've been recording for, and it's 30 minutes, so hope you guys have been enjoying the project that you've been working on while watching this. I know that's all I've been doing is watching knitting people talk about knitting, and I hope you enjoyed little bits of pottery thrown in there. I'm sure I'll get into some more crafts in the future and have more things to share with you all, but I appreciate you watching if you did. You know the gist of the like and subscribe. I'm not even gonna say it. Especially being like a baby. I'm just a little baby YouTuber right now. And yeah, that's all I have for you. Thank you and bye.